Welcome back to another episode of On the Subject. I'm your host, Michael Vilardo, co-founder and CEO of Subject.com. You know where to find us. And we have a really special series going through this year. Season 2 of On the Subject is all about highlighting the most innovative educators throughout the United States. We've made trips to Michigan, New Mexico, and now we're in the beautiful city of San Diego, California. We have an incredible educator here today who's impacted so many students over 33 years in the space. Patty Hurtt of Poway Unified. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
We're really excited to have you. And, we're really trying to just lean in more to innovation, taking chances, helping more students. And, that's where I really want to start is like, how did you get into education? Where was your passion for helping students? Bring us back to those days in 1991.
Yeah, so my journey really started completely differently. I was actually a media productions person, and then I started doing that with a school, and I enjoyed teaching the students how to do that. And then I got to sub one day in a math class, and that's what my major's actually in is math. And so I was helping the kids with math, and I felt, just promised by it that I decided to go back and get my math teaching credential and have taught math for quite a few years as well, and then became an administrator where I felt I could help even more students than I could just in my one classroom, and have gone on from there. And my passion has always been in the alternative education. So all those programs that help kids who don't quite fit into the big comprehensive school sites, they've always been my passion.
Yeah, no, and I love that. I think that's something that we really share in common, like with Subject as well, as we really want to help those students that potentially might not graduate on time. And, that we need to be able to serve those students even more importantly, because the chances of you being able to have a more successful career, be a better parent, be a better sibling, it's so influential by getting that high school diploma. And not many people realize and appreciate how important that moment is. I love what you said, how you felt that impact when you stepped back into the classroom and that there was something greater than yourself calling you. What's it like when you're able to see a student be able to get that aha moment, or when you see a student even 5, 6 years after they're in your school and you're like, hey, thank you so much for helping me. You really changed my life.
Yeah, and that's why I love my alternative programs and all the extra, one-on-one time I have with students. We have one right now at my high school at Poway de Palomar. And this student was just like, seriously, I met with her parent almost weekly because she just would not do what she was supposed to be doing. And now, I'm almost dumbfounded by who she is. I keep checking to make sure it's really her because now she's on track. She's reaching out to me for help. She's telling me that, she's done with her online class and she wants a new one. And she's just moving forward like you can't believe. And, it had gotten to the point where I told her mom we should probably start having dinner together because we see each other so much.
Wow.
And now she is just, I haven't had to talk to her mom in probably 6 months. And she's just on the right track. She's applying to nursing school now.
That's amazing.
And it's absolutely amazing. She asked me to write her letter of recommendation. So, those things, they come, tenfold with the students that I get to work with.
So what do you think makes the biggest difference with engaging these students, and how is that potentially different than it was 15 years ago?
Yeah, we just have so many more ways to engage students, which is nice. I even asked her, I said, what's the difference between last year and this year? Why is, this so different last year? And she said, because you didn't give up on me. You kept giving me different ways that I could show my strengths and different ways for me to be educated, that I saw you really didn't want to give up and you wouldn't give up. So I just decided that, it's time for me to take on these responsibilities and get it done.
So have you been in California most of your career?
All my career.
So what made you want to live in California?
Well, I grew up in California.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Riverside.
Nice. Yeah, let's go.
Just not too far away.
Yeah.
And I actually came out to San Diego to go to college at UCSD.
Oh, it's a great school. The
Yeah.
the Toreros?
No, that's USD.
I'm sorry.
We're the Tritons at
Tritons. Go
UCSD.
Tritons.
So I actually got a call one day from the softball coach at UCSD and said, hey, we need some softball players. Do you want to come play? And I've played softball all my life. So I came up to UCSD and played softball and got my education there and just stayed. Who would leave this place?
Talk about your experience as a student athlete and how that helped you be able to go to such a great school. It's one of the best schools in the country, UCSD. You got to be able to play at the highest level of athletics and get a great degree. What was it like balancing both?
It was very difficult, actually, because UCSD didn't really put a lot into their athletes. So you were just a regular student. It's not like if you were at UCLA and you got priority registration,
Right.
tutors, and all that kind of stuff. We were just on our own, and on the side, we played softball, but we'd had to travel a lot. So that made it difficult. But just being able to schedule and knowing what opportunities I was going to have as long as I stayed on track, kept me going. And I try to give that to my students as well, saying, yeah, you may be hit with all these things that you have to juggle at one time, but, you can do it. It's just a matter of planning and getting it done.
How do you involve your alternative students in extracurriculars?
We have at PPMC anyway, we have clubs on Fridays. So the
Nice.
kids get to make up their own clubs. We have a small band, we have an art club, we have a cooking club. And each year the kids get to pick what clubs we have so that they're, really geared towards what they want. We don't try to put them in a club they don't want to be in. We do that. We do a lot of volunteering out in the community, and they do peer tutoring. A lot of our kids do internships in the community as well.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
fantastic.
so they get to do 2 days a week of internships. Many of them right now are being avid tutors as their internship. So they're at middle schools, helping middle school kid get a better education as well and sharing their journey and helping these kids understand where to go from here. So they have a great journey to talk about. And I think the middle schoolers really listen to them and say, okay, there is possibilities out there for me too.
That's fantastic. So where do you like to see education or even your program in 10 years? Let's dream big. We
Yeah.
look 10 years from now, how do we make this as exciting as possible for your students? And I love what you're doing with the internships. That is incredible. For a young person to get work experience, like that is the best way for you to be able to learn what's employable skills that you actually love and what you want to do with your life. So really huge credit to you guys. I don't hear about that very often.
Yeah.
What type of other innovations can you bring to the forefront? Because that's definitely one of the best I've ever heard.
Yeah, it's been great because they do a resume, cover letter.
That's
They
fantastic.
get mock interviews. They videotape their interviews and then they do peer reviews on interviews and things like that. I'd really like to see just education become more of a menu of options for kids. And if kids want to do a couple classes on campus, but they really want to do a lot remote, I would like to see them be able to do that in a more streamlined manner than we have today. I would really like to see us take it to a level where every kid's educational plan is their plan.
Yes, personalization is
Yeah.
everything. That's been a buzzword too in education for feel like 20 years. And
Yes.
and and none of the technology companies actually deliver on it. So, that's something we want to be able to do one day. But I completely agree because, you think about it, it's 2024 right now. Hopefully we have people listening to this in 2030, 2040
Yeah.
and beyond, and you can listen back to this. But think about even in 2000 or 1990, how different the world looked. You couldn't get an Uber. You couldn't book an Airbnb, which is where we're filming today. We need to continually push the pace and all assets of life because these kids, Netflix turned 27 years old this year. These kids have grown up with Netflix, Instagram, YouTube. Now they have TikTok. Like they're just a different bar. Gen Alpha's in high school now.
No.
That's
Yeah.
the youngest birth year of freshman year, the 2010s. That's technically the oldest part of Gen Alpha. They're in
Yeah.
high school now.
Yeah.
So
It's
like
amazing.
I just think it's so fascinating. And, I like what you said about the menu of options. When you talk to the kids today, there's so many people want to harp on Gen Z. I think Gen Z is amazing. Gen
Mhm.
Z is always looking out for each other. They're so human first. They really care about people. Is there anything you've noticed unique about Gen Z?
Yeah, my biggest takeaway from Gen Z is that they won't like just take a job to take a job.
That's for sure.
They
Yes, yes.
have to like
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
And it cracks me up because I'm like, wow, I just knew I had to get a job and it didn't matter if I liked it or not. These kids are like, I won't do that. I won't do that. I don't like that class. I want to do a class that I like,
Yeah.
which is great too. And I like to hear that they have passion for parts of education at least, for me, mine's always math. When a kid comes to me and wants math help, oh, I love it. And I know there's a lot of people out there who hate it. But, just having those opportunities for those kids to take different types of math or take different types of history, take their ethnic studies in the way they want to take it, I think is really important for us as we move forward. I also think that having students be able to access more mental health
Yes, yes.
solutions in
Absolutely.
their curriculum, not above and beyond what they already have to do, but included in their curriculum so that we can, help their mental health as well as their academic health at the same time, because I see that that's really inhibiting our students today is the mental health issue of their lives. So,
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's a really something that we see, especially with how much technology is getting
mhm,
commoditized, with AI and all these tools, your ability to relate to humans is such a valuable skill. Like this
yes.
one-on-one, can you be able to read people's body language and emotions? And then also, can you understand your own emotions? So that way you can give yourself the most self-love possible because you have to love yourself first above all else. So it's really important. One of the biggest things we always try to do with our guests, and like especially as we always like to culminate these great conversations, is if you were to speak back to your 22 or 23-year-old self, knowing what you know now, what would you say?
Oh, wow. I think I would have told myself to start my journey even earlier
Love that.
with high school kids, or even because I did start my teaching career in San Diego Unified in one of the lower.
It's a huge district. Isn't that the second biggest in the
Oh, yeah.
state? Yeah.
Yeah. And I started in an area of where there's a lot of poverty and that kind of stuff. And that was really probably the greatest part of my career, I would say. And I think I would have started that sooner and maybe started some of these programs that we have now in Poway Unified down in San Diego Unified, where we could have been more one on one with kids because it is a ginormous
It's
district.
huge. Yeah.
Yeah, and, I think kids get lost, but I think I would have concentrated more on our middle of the road kids because, if they're really causing problems or scoring very low in their academics, they get a lot of attention. If they're really
I
high,
get the attention
they
too.
get attention, but there's this group of kids in the middle that when I became an administrator, I saw. Like, when I would walk around at lunchtime, there'd be kids sitting by themselves at
Oh
lunch,
no.
and it would just break my heart. So, having some things in place when I was younger and could have thought about all this stuff to bring to my career now, I think that's what I would have done, was to try to find programs for our middle kids.
I love that. I actually
Sooner.
was discussing that a couple weeks ago with someone and saying something similar, but you were much more eloquent than me. And I really appreciate how much you care about students, how much you care about people. Again, 30 plus years of experience. That means you've impacted hundreds of thousands of kids who've gone in to impact millions of people in the population because when you're a better student, when you're able to relate to people more, you're able to contribute to society even more. And so we thank you so much for that. And that was another incredible episode of On the Subject. Where can we find you on social? For the fans.
For the fans on LinkedIn, that's about it.
LinkedIn. You go on
Yeah.
LinkedIn. We'll link it down below. Remember, like, comment, subscribe. We're really trying to push our fans to YouTube, Spotify, and thank you so much and continue to support us so we can have incredible, innovative educators on this podcast and highlight what we could do to make education the best thing in the world. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.